Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls better tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. You can't go out, motherfucker, by peace. You take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put them in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the prize. Man so tough, but mans keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls, better tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch me, please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
The show is playing hurt today. We've had a sickness outbreak around here, and it allows us to have a great blessing in August, the Real Hoopers No Show of Tony, Amin El Hassan, and Izzy Gutierrez, not Mike Ryan.
What? Not Mike?
Mike Ryan has announced that he is incapable of an interesting Miami Heat opinion. He does not have anything interesting to say on the Miami Heat.
He had to announce that.
He did announce it. It was about 6 months after the rest of us realized it. But
hear ye.
He is out of opinions on the Miami Heat. I am excited, though, because we've got Izzy Gutierrez, we've got Amin El Hassan, and we have the ability to talk about an assortment of things today, basketball included, and the rare thing of, in an hour, we're going to break news. And I want to know the enthusiasm of the group. I don't want to over-tease it. I want to under-promise and over-deliver. But we have a news-breaking item that will be interesting to a certain segment of people in an hour. How would you guys help me classify this without ruining the surprise and over-promising so that I'm not teasing people with expectation who are expecting something that is too big a news, but for this show and for this show's obsession with a certain thing, what we're announcing in an hour is going to be pretty interesting to our constituency.
Well, I've seen several things aggregated about this one topic, and I will say that people forget. People forget that several years ago a promise was made from one artist to another.
Yes.
That something was ours. And today we rightfully take it.
Tell the tale.
Okay,
tell the tale. We're a storyteller.
We're not going to tell the tale right now, but in an hour.
Just the idea of climbing to a mountaintop and seeing this old, wise, hermit of a monk, and he looks into your eyes and he says, "I give this to you."
It is. It feels a little religious and a little spiritual. What is being given to us in an hour to share with the world exclusively?
It's also a beautiful thing in that in a complicated world of digital video and rights issues and whatnot, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, that this is just as simple as one word was given and it is being honored, again, from one artist to another. And that's important in this crazy age where lawyers want to get involved in everything. We kept it simple, and today this tree bears fruit.
It's a bit of a treasure, and it's adjacent to one of the things that I wanted to start with. We'll get to Olympic coverage in about a half hour when Andrew Siciliano will join us, and we're going to make a foray, hopefully, if the video works and the technology and the sound, and we're going to talk to a breaker, B-Boy Ronnie, who is going to explain to us some things that we absolutely need to know as breaking begins at the Olympics.
He's bailing you out again because you're the one that should be telling us about breaking. And I haven't heard not one update from you on breaking.
By the way, I have an update. The U.S. medaled in weightlifting for the first time since 1984.
Wow.
So that is my beat. Consider that covered.
I have not covered breaking at all, never mind well. I consider it covered for you. I did see that the Jamaican relay team lost to the Chinese because they screwed up the baton. That has to hurt when you train. You train that way for once every 4 years, and then you don't qualify in
breaking.
It is not the 4x4 relay in breaking.
That would have been hot.
It's track and field.
Yeah, I'm gonna wade into these waters because I'm worried about this take. because there have been certain moments in sports where I'm like, how are they doing this? Sometimes it's during the Tour de France. Sometimes it's during the World Cup where Spain is trying to outpass Russia, but Russia seemingly has 6 lungs per player. Something's going on over here with China.
You know what I feel like, Mike, with regards to that? During these Olympics, the one person no one seems to be asking that question about, Snoop. How's he doing this?
That's very true.
How is he at every event? How does he have custom clothing? He had a Noah Lyles winning the gold. Where?
There's a deep fake Snoop.
Come on. They've got to be carbon copying him, right?
Fencing. He's in a fencing costume. He's in the equestrian costume. He's in a Greco-Roman costume. He's in a beach volleyball costume.
Some of these shots may be pre-taped.
He's sitting next to Asia Wilson at the USA game. No, it's not, because I'm telling you, there are things that's like holding up a newspaper. He's at the USA game with Asia Wilson. Then he's somewhere else wearing a Team USA jacket that has Noah Lyles winning the gold in the 100 meters. Like, how is that possible?
So you want him to hold up a newspaper to prove that it's the same date that he is there, like in a hostage video?
No, I'm saying he's already doing that with his actions. I'm saying that we have a Pootie Tank situation where they hired a bunch of lookalikes for Snoop, and then they just insert him in different places.
Pootie Tank.
Tracking back quickly to the China thing. This is very clearly my American superiority complex speaking here, and also the fact that contextually there is a tainted meat scandal. All right, the U.S. always takes the gold in that relay. Always. Not this year, because a bunch of tainted meat swimmers decided to crash the party. And if I were afraid of Chinese bots, I'd stay off of X altogether. But what I'm saying here is we're going to revisit all of this. I'm taking mental notes.
Okay, very good. Mike Ryan has threatened you with mental notes are being taken, China. He's not afraid of whatever your retaliation is to his mental notes.
I'm not on TikTok for a reason.
Now,
you don't have my data.
When you say tainted meat swimmers, do you mean these are swimmers who have eaten tainted meat, or are they meat swimmers who are tainted?
Meat, M-E-E-T?
Oh, never mind.
I didn't even consider that. So they tested positive for elevated levels of things that help them in the pool. I think that is the actual term.
What, gills? What are things that help you in the pool?
Why are we still talking about swimming? Swimming is over. I've got this Olympic fever, and I'd like to talk about a couple of events, but I'm a little thrown off here. And I say little is because, and those looking on the screen, is I've never felt smaller than I feel right now sitting next to Tony. Tony does this bully move where he stands up and wants to sort of, I mean, look.
You do look tiny. You look like Billy sitting next to Derrick Henry.
But now watch me stand up. It's not any better. I'm still tiny.
We got to Tony Scott this. Get an apple crate for Tom Cruise.
I don't know what to do here. I just feel like a gymnast compared to, I don't know, a heptathlete or a decathlete or something.
He does look giant. I'm surprised, because we've been hurt by sickness here today, to hear something that Amin said right before we turned the microphones on, because some of it's sickness and some of it is August vacation. Amin said something I've never heard before. He said he hates extended vacation time. I've never heard anybody say that.
What does he mean by? What do you mean by that?
So, I am a creature of routine. I crave the routine. I get up, I do this and whatever, right? And so my elite version of a vacation is, it's not really a vacation, it's just I work less. I don't stop working, but I do a little bit every day. When I go off the grid, as I did for the last couple of weeks, I find it so hard to get back into the routine. I don't want to do any of this. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to be here today. Like, on the way to the airport.
That is not the way to sell
Well,
what
I'm
we're
just
doing.
saying.
Danny is wearing a T-shirt that says "Day Drink."
He needs a vacation from the vacation. It's a real thing.
If in a perfect world, I would go on vacation and never come back. That's it.
That's not a vacation.
It is a vacation.
That's death, I believe.
The ultimate vacation.
The ultimate vacation. The real vacation, right? But
put it on the poll, Juju. Is death the ultimate vacation?
I don't want to make it seem like, I hate being here.
Depends on where you're going.
Wait.
You made it sound like you hate being here.
No. I just hate working after I haven't worked. I like working. If I had just been coming all along, I'd be fine. But the fact that I tasted what freedom is actually like, and then it's like, all right, back to the salt mines. Like, oh, no, not this again. I'd rather just be digging a little less salt and then more salt.
You cannot be describing what you are presently doing as back to the salt mines.
Well, I mean,
like you cannot. There's no
copper.
No, I mean, come on. What do you?
Cobalt?
What do you,
I'm a little salty.
What are you doing with this? There are the people watching and the people listening to this, many of whom have real struggles in real jobs, have to be looking at you and sit and be saying, like, what is he talking about?
Well, like what I would say to all those people is, first of all, thank you for your service. Where's my camera? Thank you for your service. We really appreciate everything that you do for us as a society. I don't know what you do, but I appreciate it.
You're making it less personal.
No, I'm speaking to the camera.
I know, but you're saying I don't know what you do. Pretend like you do know what they do.
I know what you do, and I appreciate it. And so does everyone else here. What I'm saying is this. I would rather be doing my job, whatever my job is, continuously, and then in a vacation time, just do it a little less.
So you're speaking specifically to salt miners right now? Just that
Yes,
portion of our audience.
Absolutely. And the cobalt miners too, right? I just don't want to be off completely and then be asked to come back on, because it is so hard to train my body and my mind back into a let's get work done mentality.
Put this on the poll as well, Juju, please, at Le Batard Show. Do you find yourself needing another vacation as soon as you return from vacation? The thing that I wanted to talk about with you guys that is basketball related, it's a couple of different topics, actually. One is in Charles Barkley's return to TNT, which surprised me.
Did it?
It did surprise me that he returned to TNT. Yeah, because they're not going to have games. They're not. Look, man, I understand that the people. Stugotz suggested this. Oh, just do it without the games. You need highlights.
Yeah.
Like you need the rights. You need to be able to play basketball video that you can talk about. You can think you can do a 4-hour show without that video. You cannot do a 4-hour basketball show without that video.
Well, a couple of things. One, it wasn't a 4-hour show. It was a little bit here, and then they play the game, and then a little bit at halftime. Then
Like a means vacation.
Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly how it is. Number two, you can't do a show without basketball video or basketball highlights. Someone hipped this guy to a little thing called Oddball every day but Monday right here on DraftKings Network. We do it every day.
And Dan, the point that you're making is a valid one, but that also sounds like Turner's problem, because Charles is just going to honor this contract.
But they're going to create, reportedly, a show around some of the other sports that they're doing there. And what I'm saying, I'm not saying you can't do a basketball show without video. I'm saying they can't do that show without video and without being able to react live to all the things that have just happened in a basketball game and then be able to show them to you.
First of all, I would disagree with that also, because if you think of many of the best moments of Inside the NBA, it's them just sitting around riffing, or interviewing someone. Remember the Dwight Howard interview that went like 12 minutes long, which is unheard of on TV for a post-game show or for a live, basically, event like that. They did it because they have the freedom and they have the chemistry to have those kind of conversations, and they hold viewers. And so I think they can absolutely do it, because all you really need is Ernie, full screen, still shot of, like LeBron going like this, Lakers lose another one, and then let them rip, Charles and whoever else is on. But more importantly, I'm not here to argue the logistics of how you do a show without showing any video. I'm here to say, do you really believe Charles Barkley is going to do like 7 more years of non-NBA coverage?
Well, yeah, but he doesn't have to just do non-NBA stuff, too, because without highlights, you can still, first of all, it's a show on TNT. They're going to get rights to a 15-second clip, right? And when you watch the highlight shows, they're reacting to one moment from the game. They're not reacting to a series of moments from the game. And then even if you don't show the moment, fine. Quick explanation, maybe even have people act it out. Maybe that could be their thing. But in terms of talking about it, they don't need much video. That's a Kenny Smith thing.
Don't give away the goods.
Christ, man. Season 2 down the drain.
That show, in sports history, there have been very few shows ever. I know that the Stars get a lot of credit for that show that has had better production than that show. So I would trust them to be creative with incredibly funny things like reenactments of a play, because they don't
reenactments.
I watched that before I watched the highlight. I would watch the reenactment.
You stop
first.
talking about this, please.
You guys have done a great job in highlighting some of the challenges that face Turner and Charles, the whole cast and crew of that show. But at the heart of the matter is, Charles will never retire as long as there's huge piles of money around. We told you this before. He's talked about retiring longer than he's actually been doing this stuff. It's crazy. He just doesn't retire. And I know for a fact, because I've overheard him, he seriously considers these things. I don't doubt that, but it always comes back to, I'm not retiring. I'm taking this easy money.
What do you mean you've overheard him?
I've snuck around people on the phone with Charles Barkley, and I've eavesdropped. And yeah, I'm reporting this exclusively. Charles Barkley, he means it when he says he seriously considers these things. And I mean it when I said, bullshit, you're never retiring. You're taking that easy money.
I don't know how I feel about Mike eavesdropping on my phone conversation.
They didn't teach that in journalism school. I got to tell you, Mike, that is some sketchy journalism.
I was just legitimately hurt by the fact that Mike revealed something that he overheard in a conversation that I was walking around
Whoa,
here having
I didn't
yesterday.
reveal my sources. You did. And I would say, just as a caution to anybody, stop talking on speakerphone for everybody to hear you. That's
He's got a
weird.
good point.
I was in a private room you walked into.
And I overheard it, and I am but a journalist.
But
Speaking of which, at some point here today, please remind me, because Colorado football is really mad at us, and I want to get back to something we've done the last couple of days.
let me say right now, the list of people who are mad at y'all is very lengthy, and I'm having to put out fires. I'm not going to say about where or who, but I do know that I have received communiques saying, what's the deal? And I say, hey, man, that's just them. I've had to smooth over some things.
Why don't you want to tell us what some of
Because
those things are?
Unlike you, Dan, I am not leaky. Unlike Mike Ryan over here, I am not snitching all over the airwaves. I know what the value of discretion is. I am discreet.
The listeners would love to know in your discretion, because what you've done now is just tease the listener and then not giving them information. The listener would like to know who's mad at us. You're going to tell me during the break, and then I'm going to leak it or talk to somebody, and Michael will overhear it, and he'll leak it. So it'll get leaked somewhere around here. But just remind me before we get out of here today to talk about everything that's happened with Colorado, because it reminds me so much of everything that happened 30 years ago with the University of Miami. It's the modern version of us against the world in Colorado, where they think they have this precious thing that the rest of the world doesn't understand, and it just makes them all the stronger in their unity.
Minus the success.
Now, Mike, I want to ask you, hearing that, does that feel like the ultimate victory over Florida State? Is that Deion Sanders went and stole you guys' culture and brought it to Colorado?
I understand how people get defensive. Lord knows I'm a very defensive Miami Hurricane.
You?
It wasn't forget about kneeling. It wasn't a fumble. Not enough people talk about this.
That's also true.
But what I will say is, Colorado, if you're struggling with this, you gotta toughen up. Like there was a report out there that spoke to anonymous people. You're lucky. Mainstream. We're like the most mainstream entity that picked up on this story. Networks have their journalistic standards. Maybe it didn't meet that. That's totally fine. But this is not anything close to what Miami endured. Everybody was pretty unified in this is this program has to go. It goes on the cover of magazines that mattered at the time. They need to end this. If you're having difficulty with this, I wish you luck this season, because you actually meet real adversity and you're getting sensitive about this. Maybe you're not cut out for it.
We will get to all of that, because Miami got cut out for it after 20 years of enduring it. And Dennis Erickson, with all the winning in the world, was still throwing up into buckets before games with fever blisters, because once you have everybody on your neck rooting against you and you lose, it doesn't feel very good.
But it's also a fallacy. I kind of feel like most big media companies are rooting for Colorado because they benefit from the prime bump. Everyone saw this. Ratings were up across the board. Anytime anybody did anything with Colorado, as long as they were winning, it meant buku ratings. So there isn't this huge conspiracy of people gathering around. If anything, they're trying to shoo this story away because no one's actually covering it. So I don't think that argument holds water at all.
It's the Floyd Mayweather thing, right? Everyone, or it feels like there's a large, loud contingency that wants to see failure, but it all hinges on him being successful in order for us to root for failure. No one wants to root for failure for a failing organization or a failing, entity. It only works when they're really good.
if you dig into any program that maybe is high profile, that maybe is struggling a little bit, doing worse than they expected, getting a lot of transfers, you'll probably find a lot of stories about this. You'll probably find stories dotted with guns. You'll probably find some stories about violence, teammates butting heads. I don't think it's unique to Colorado unless Deion's allowing this stuff. But I think what's unique is that he brings all the attention. And so there are people, even Athlon Sports, digging in.
We will get to that, but where I would stop you is the objection it runs along a really interesting journalism fault line to me. They're not objecting to it being covered. They're alleging that it's all made up, that it's not overblown, that it's all made up, which is a different way of doing it in 2024 when you simply don't understand how journalism vetting works. But this particular reporter and Athlon Sports, which is from a different time, doesn't have the credibility you need to withstand what is presently hitting it. We'll get to that later. The guns thing is interesting, though, because I do remember watching with Butch Davis one of the University of Miami movies on ESPN where Butch Davis was revealed on the screen to have said, he gets here and says he's going to change the culture. And he says, I want all the guns. I need all the guns. And I remember I'm sitting next to him in the theater and he leans over to me and says, I didn't even get half of them.
Yes.
Shame on you. That was a private conversation.
It was. I just leaked it. I want to play some Draymond Green sound for you guys because I can't believe this is the messenger on this particular message. Listen to this.
But y'all chasing the game like all young dudes do. Come down, I need to get a three. And ain't nobody Steph Curry. But everybody want to get to three. Shooting it well. But you took 3 bad ones in a row. Or you took 2, one of y'all took another one. Right? And then y'all cried about every call that was called. I get a lot of texts. So I'm actually fucked up on that part. But it's also cost me $2.5 million. Which is more money than probably everybody in here paying to make that ain't a rich kid. It's probably 50 times the amount of money my mom made in her life. So it'll cost you. And also, what have y'all done to get calls? I was this close from, by the way, not giving y'all one. And there's nothing any of y'all can say. So why are we crying about calls? It's pick up. He ain't say nothing about a foul. He ain't say nothing about a foul. Say, yo, we still had the ball. And y'all crying about every call. Why? Who's done something? I just want to know which one of y'all done something. Quite frankly, I don't think any of y'all have done anything. But that's just me.
I mean, it's amazing to have him talk about crying about calls, and he's explaining to you why he thinks he's entitled to it. It's just because he's done something.
He has. I mean, like I don't think he said anything untoward. By the way, what the done something he's talking about isn't winning 4 championships, winning Defensive Player of the Year, being an All-Star, being All-NBA, All-Defensive Team, all those things. It's I'm an NBA player. You're in high school.
Did he just finish an NBA game, by the way? Because he was sweaty and out of breath, and he's coaching? What is going on, Draymond?
He was watching Cops.
Man, let me tell you something. Playing with kids, man, that shit is tiring, man. Because they just have pools of energy that aren't natural. I'm like, how do you keep doing? What is this? You're just running around. It has no rhyme or reason to it.
Juju, put it on the poll, please. Who has more energy, NBA players or toddlers or kids? Kids,
just kids.
Yes. Well, but I was thinking toddlers are even more exhausting than just kids.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
That might come
about
back
that?
100%. Might be the first one ever.
I also wanted to get into what Draymond said and his dedication to hating. Just saying of Rudy Gobert, you cannot be an NBA player and benched by an Olympic team that isn't Team USA.
That is, that's a bar.
It is a bad look.
Evan Fournier is playing a ton on that France team. And when's the last time he saw the NBA floor?
Dude, it seems like the adjustment for France was, let's get some of these NBA players out of here.
Can we do what I asked and make the in-season tournament truly international? And bring it, just make that an actual in-season tournament, like a Leagues Cup, where you bring in another league from another country. It
Hockey's
actually
doing
be
this.
interesting games.
Hockey's doing this with the 4 nations.
NBA's talking about doing that too.
We may
They got that idea for me.
have a breaker from Paris next.
Hold on. Stop.
I was assigned the task of covering breaking on behalf of the show from the Olympics. I have failed. I have not had the bandwidth to get as updated as I should have gotten, but we're bringing in an expert. I do know you're not supposed to call it breakdancing. That's about all I know. You're supposed to call it breaking, and B-Boy Ronnie Baldonado is with us. He's a legend in the scene. He's been breaking for 3 decades. He's a judge. He's been a judge for the sport, and he's going to be one of the official commentators for NBC Sports. Are there any curiosities the room has on this? Because I mean, I'm sure you is New York and cardboard on sidewalks before your time?
No, that's the New York of my childhood.
Okay, that's the New York of your time. And so this is where I was introduced to breakdancing, and the evolution of it, obviously, athletically, is a total insanity. Mike learned the other day that you don't know what song you're going to break to, which seems crazy. And he says, it's odd if they throw a "You Can Call Me Al" at you before you're expecting it. I don't think you're allowed to do that. But Ronnie is here to explain it to us. So thank you, Ronnie, for joining us. And I'll begin with, how much ignorance are you confronted with? People are about to be delighted when this finally starts on Friday and they discover what is a novelty sport, because it's not going to be at every Olympics, but it is at this Olympics, and this has to be exciting for people like you and people from this community.
Yes, definitely. Thank you guys, first of all, for having me. Yes, breaking, this is a milestone for the breaking community. We're very excited that it's finally going to be in the Olympics. I feel like it should have been a while ago, but, everything's about timing. And now that breaking is going to be in the Olympics, we have like the best of the best from around the world representing.
What is going to stun people? What are they going to be surprised by? One of the great things about the Olympics has been all the awe and discovery and wonder of people like being, holy shit, how do those water polo people survive playing that sport?
Well, it's very close to gymnastics. We took a lot of inspiration from, gymnasts, from martial arts, and vice versa. If you were to watch some of the floor exercises and gymnastics, they actually got inspired from some breaking moves. We have a move called the air flares, which they now do in the Olympics, and they actually give credit to breaking, and vice versa. We took the Thomas flares, right? So I think breaking has evolved so much in the past 40, 50 years, and it's just undeniable that it's going to be, groundbreaking, and it's definitely a breakthrough for the hip hop culture.
Ronnie, speaking of the culture, when you think about breaking, like Dan said, it's something that originated on the streets. It was free, it was unencumbered, unregulated. And now you bring it to something like the Olympics, which is the epitome of the establishment, and people are going to score it and grade it and all that. How does the culture react to that transition from this is our thing to this is something that we're going to be basically calculated on?
Yeah, well, we're at the elite level now. It's not confined to the streets. It almost graduated to sports and to the Olympics. And there is a structure behind breaking. It's not like breaking just jumped onto the Olympic stage. You have huge competitions that have been going on for like the past few decades. You have competitions like Freestyle Session, Battle of the Year, Red Bull BC1, and these are world-class events. And they have different point systems. Specifically for the Olympics, it's a comparative judging system that they're using that's judged on 5 different categories. So it's very structured. They're going to be judging on technique, vocabulary, execution, musicality, and originality. And of course, you have professional judges on the panel.
Well, walk me through that, though. What does musicality mean?
Musicality is obviously rhythm. If you're on beat, you're not dancing with 2 left feet, right? So you have to be dancing because it's really important that, everyone understands that even though they're doing acrobatic moves, that this is still a dance at the end of the day. And it's part of a hip hop culture. So there's a bigger picture. Breaking is the dance element of the hip hop culture along with DJing, MCing, and graffiti.
What does vocabulary mean? Vocabulary, what does that mean?
Vocabulary is like your quantity of moves, because there is a structure in breaking. Like I was saying, there's the foundation of breaking. You have your top rock, footwork, power moves, and freezes. So essentially in a battle, you have to be able to showcase all those 4 elements, and those are like the fundamentals of breaking.
So when you say originality, though, how surprised do you ever get by anybody's originality as someone who has been watching, judging, and has expertise about this that goes back 3 decades?
Exactly. So, judges, they definitely have an eye for originality, because a lot of these breakers, especially the breakers that are going to be competing at the Olympics, they have signature moves. So, a lot of them that have created their moves throughout, these 30 years, we know their moves, but it's also, creating unique patterns, unique transitions, and innovating a lot of the foundational moves. So that's basically what originality is just stage presence, just having a very unique style. Charisma could be part of that too. Someone that just has a very unique stage presence, right? Like character is very important as well.
Ronnie, I'm curious. There's a lot of people around here who think they can do more than they actually can. A lot of people who think they're like Olympians in just a couple of months of training. I'm wondering what it would take for you. How easy or difficult would it be for you to teach somebody not to be an Olympic level breaker, but to kind of look like they know what they're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I actually have a dance studio in Las Vegas, so we do teach lessons, right? So you have to just start from the basics. It's starting from ground level, teaching your top rock, just like I was mentioning, and that's easily a 2-step, right? And then from there, you go to the floor, you start to teach footwork, which one of the most basic footwork steps is called a 6-step. And then from then on, you start elevating, right? That's why with breaking, we always talk about before you learn how to fly, you got to learn how to, crawl, walk, run, then you could fly.
What's the training regimen like outside of actually practicing how to dance?
Outside, well, back then there was really no regimen because competition really wasn't that big. But now that it's an Olympic sport, breakers are training like athletes, but creating like artists. So I think there's, how could I say this? There's like 2 different types of breakers. You have your artistic breakers and you have your athletic breakers. The athletic breakers, the breakers that are competing for a competition like the Olympics, they train every day in, day out. They have, a diet that they go by. But then for those that literally just break because they love it, they don't count the hours. They just break every day. We call it a cipher, right? So they'll just go to the club and then they'll just have fun. It's more leisure, So there's different type of breakers, and that's a beautiful thing about breaking too, because there's different avenues for breaking. Yes, there's the competition world, but as you know, breakers perform in shows. Like if you go to Las Vegas, there's a breaker in almost every show. You have a breaker in Magic Mike. You have a breaker in Cirque du Soleil. You have tons of breakers in the Jabberwocky show. So, and if you watch music videos, you'll always see that there is a breaker, that's a backup dancer for an artist, or a breaker that's in the movie acting. And this is not new, because in the 80s, breaking was huge. It was everywhere in the 80s. I mean, there was even breakers at the closing ceremony at the 1984 Olympics, performing with Lionel Richie. So this is nothing new, guys.
Ronnie, respectfully, if I see a breakdance cipher going on at the club, I'm probably going to leave. But I did want to ask you one question.
It's like a musical breaking out in high school basketball.
No biggie. But respectfully, as a b-boy novice, when you guys start doing this move right here, kind of before you start, like you start doing the dance moves prior to
the capoeira fighter in Tekken.
Right.
Yeah, you look like a capoeira.
Come on.
Yeah.
So when you start doing these moves, are you setting up a move, or is that just like you warming up the body? Like what's the idea with that?
It's a combination of both. Well, yeah. So like I said, it's the top rock, right? The top rock is the dance element. It's the introduction to your set. So there's actually people that don't even go down to the floor, right? They'll stay up top the whole time.
Is there an approved
whatever?
Is there an approved uniform for this? Like in the 80s, it was tracksuits and the Adidas shoes. Is there like a standard uniform that people have for this, or can someone get bonus points for doing this in jeans?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, fashion is very important. I think everyone has their own style, right? So sometimes the way someone dresses kind of defines their style. And like I was saying, you have breakers that dress like athletes that wear tracksuits, and then you have the breakers that you would never know that they were breakers. They look like they could be skaters. So yeah, fashion is crucial, specifically for the Olympics. I believe there is a dress code. Obviously, everyone's going to be representing their countries, but I'm not quite sure what they're going to be wearing. But the most comfortable are usually, like a tracksuit is definitely comfortable. Something light would be comfortable to wear in a competition.
Any tension between the artists and the athletes?
Yeah. I mean, when it was leading up to the Olympics, because they announced this like in 2019, so like 5 years ago is when they officially announced that breaking was going to be in the Olympics. And there was a little tension between the purist, right, the traditionalist in the scene. But I think when they see that this whole culture is bigger than us, that most of them have turned their heads and they're definitely supportive. But obviously, there's going to be a few that are just cynical about breaking being in the Olympics. But definitely, we've been getting majority positive feedback.
Ronnie, what can you tell us about the music? Because music choice is hugely important, and we learned earlier that these answers are going to be surprised by this. Is there a hypothetical where there is a song that gets played that is very difficult to breakdance to?
I mean, there's cases where breakers they're very specific about the type of music that you listen to, so you'll definitely have the advantage if it's a classic or if there's a song playing that well. And what's beautiful about the Olympics is they cleared like over 300 songs. Oh, wow. So there's going to be like classic breaks, hip hop. So and that's the beauty about breaking too, is just the improvisation, right? Like listening to the music and just adapting to it. You have to let the music kind of dictate your moves. And everyone has a different style. There's some breakers that have a set from beginning to end, and there's some breakers that just freestyle and that are in the moment, right? And that's what breaking is about too. It's about creating those moments that could not be recreated. So that's going to be the funnest thing to see, is just hearing the music and seeing how the breakers adapt to it.
So they cleared 300 songs. That was a big concern because breakdancing and music, they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Do you know all 300 songs? I'm not asking you to tip it. I'm just asking you to let me know if like Bobby McFerrin's Don't Worry, Be Happy is in here. Because the idea of a wild card song, like just all of a sudden, boom, chamber music, go.
No, it's I think there's specific genres, right? Like funk, hip hop, some soul, because we grew up listening to like songs from like James Brown. So I'm hoping they have some of those songs cleared. I don't know specifically what songs, but I definitely know there's going to be a curated playlist, and a lot of it are songs that are from our breaking community. And we have a very tight-knit breaking community of breakers that have been competing at some of the same events annually, and they play the same tracks. So we're hoping that the DJ actually are going to be playing that for the Olympics.
Ronnie, I got a question for you. Before you came on, I looked at your name and I went to Dan. I said, "Bet you $20 he's of Filipino descent." Am I correct?
My last name?
Yes.
I am Filipino. Yes.
Okay. Why is the Philippines the source of all the best breakdancers in the world? That's my unofficial, like, not an expert opinion, but from what I've witnessed throughout my 45 years on this world, is the Philippines is always incredible.
And what nation is favored to win in men and women?
Well, he's a judge.
Really?
I don't know if he's allowed to say that.
It's like that in karaoke.
Music and dance is just in our DNA. It's encoded in our DNA. And boxing, we have Manny Pacquiao, right?
You don't you don't think he's allowed as a judge to say who's favored? Like
No.
You don't think?
I think that's incredibly prejudicial.
Well, but I mean, I think that there would be common knowledge within the expertise of the sport of if there's a champion or if there's some in all the sports that we're watching, there's a favorite.
Yeah, but I don't know if the judges like you think like a referee like Kenny Maurer can say, "Oh, I think the Celtics are going to win it again."
Can you say or can you not say?
Wait, what are we talking about right now?
Don't try to get my man in trouble
All
here.
right, fine. Women's.
Are we talking?
I'm just talking about who's supposed to win. Like, what country is supposed to win?
Historically, who's the best at this?
Well, there is a Filipino American that's going to be representing Team USA.
There you go.
And yeah, she has a good chance. I think obviously USA has a very good chance to win. It started in the US, so we're hoping that someone just brings home the gold. But Asia is doing really well. Japan, Korea. There's a competitor from Korea, and I think that's what's beautiful about breaking in the Olympics too. Is like we're bridging the age gap. You have teenagers there, and you have breakers that are like in their 30s, and one specifically from Korea, he's like pushing 40. He's 39, and he's like a 3-time Red Bull BC1 world champion. His name is Hong Tan, and he's an amazing breaker, and he's just pushing the envelope right now.
Appreciate you illuminating us. The women start Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern on Peacock, and the men are Saturday at 2 p.m. You can check out Ronnie's video on YouTube at Red Bull BC1. We appreciate the insight, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Ronnie.
Thank you guys for having me.
Very much appreciate it. You may have heard Andrew Siciliano laughing there. I don't know what he was laughing at there. Siciliano, what were you laughing at there as we onboarded you in the middle of B-Ball Ronnie? B-Boy, excuse me.
I don't remember, honestly. I met Ronnie on the bus yesterday because we're all kind of staying at the same hotel, and I was peppering him with some of the same breaking questions that you guys had. The idea that they don't know the music, the breakers don't know the music. And by the way, Ronnie might even be in the same room back here. I'm not even sure. This place is massive. But the idea that they don't know, wouldn't it be funny? I improved my shot. It was so dark last time at the dressing room. It looked like a hostage video. But anyway, they don't know the music, right? Yeah. And like the idea that they don't know the music is just bonkers to me. So,
now, Andrew, when you say you have the same breaking questions for Ronnie, do you mean questions about breaking the sport, or do you mean breaking questions like we had? We had a breaking question.
I mean, they about the sport, but I guess we could have framed them as breaking news about breaking about breaking. I'm excited. I can't wait for Sonny Choi, 35-year-old Estee Lauder executive, to get out there. I mean that. Like, it's an amazing story. There's so many cool stories. Like, how about Andy McDonald, right? Like, skateboarding legend from the 90s. He won like X Games gold skateboarding with Tony Hawk like in 1996. And he was out there as a 51-year-old yesterday competing for Great Britain because, hey, I just found out my dad's from London. I could get a British passport with a bunch of teenagers yesterday in the skate park final. I mean, that's bonkers. He has a son who was older, is 18, than every single woman who was on the podium for that event on Tuesday.
What would you say, and there's been plenty here, Andrew, the most surprised you've been at a result so far? Because there have been just, it's just nonstop snorting. It's like everybody is Marcus Jordaning the Olympics.
Whoa.
There's just a nonstop snorting of everything, and it's just constant adrenaline.
Yeah, that one's tough. We were talking about that actually last night. I think
he was right behind you.
He was right
behind you. He just walked in.
What's up? See, look, we did it. What's up? We made this happen. Yeah, like the balcony and this place is huge. Like, I was trying to figure it out. I get lost here every single day. See you later. Like, they have, honestly, it's a maze. It's like you're at Costco and you just have to look for the signs hanging over the aisles as to where to go. Where were we?
Most surprised.
Doesn't he have to be in Paris? Isn't he a judge? What was happening?
We're not in Paris. Many people are. We are not. So Kristen Faulkner was a rower at Harvard. Stop me did I tell the story last time? And she started working on Wall Street, and then she took up cycling because she went to a clinic in Central Park. Oh, I'm going to be a cyclist. This is fun. And then she won gold in the road race. Wasn't even supposed to be in the road race. Someone else didn't go, and so she subbed in. And then she won a gold yesterday in the velodrome. So she has 2 gold medals. She didn't even take up cycling until 5-6 years ago. And she walks away here with 2 gold medals. I mean, to me, that story is just insane.
You did tell us that last time. It's okay, though.
Okay, well, now she added a second one yesterday. She added a second gold yesterday.
What the hell's
so
going on?
There you go.
What's going on there? Like, how is that possible? I thought the Turkish 51, the Turkish 51-year-old who shows up, put his hands in his jeans, and then just wins a silver medal. What's with people just showing up at the Olympics and winning? That's not supposed to happen.
We had our first men's weightlifting U.S. medal in 40 years, something like that yesterday as well. We have like the U.S. women against Australia water polo. That could get mean and nasty today. Women's volleyball, big rivalry, USA Brazil today. So we're getting to the point where it's like, the big headliners finally going at it in the semis and finals. So we're getting to that. We got Noah Lyles as well today. I mean, Noah Lyles woke up and tweeted something like, "You're already dead." Did you see that? Like an anime reference here from a character that I don't know anything about, but "You're already dead" in Japanese. So he's calling his shot. He claims it's over today for the 200. He's getting his double.
Siciliano, can you turn over your right shoulder and read off of that guy's shirt who's standing behind you? Can you just...
Greg was right, and you know it.
See? And you know it.
Can you take us through?
Who else is in this studio?
These guys.
Stugotz over
Who else
there?
do you want me to find?
These
Tom
guys.
Brokaw.
They're all
No,
at
he's being negative somewhere else.
Peacock's Gold Zone. They broadcast 329 medal moments from Paris by the end of this weekend. It's all going to be over. And are you hearing anything about what Tom Cruise is going to do? Have you heard any exclusive information about the stunt that Tom Cruise is going to pull in taking over the Olympics to Los Angeles?
I have not. I have only read what you have read, which is they were going to do something in Will Rogers Park, which is like right across the street from Riviera. Then they were going to do, I have not heard. Then there was something with the Hollywood sign. So, I mean, I think I've just read the whole TMZ stuff that you guys have read. I am not privy to that super secret info.
To be fair, if there was going to be someone who's going to break that news, it would be Mike Ryan. I wouldn't turn to any other source in the world.
Yeah, the excerpts that I've seen from this TMZ story leads me to believe that there's a transatlantic flying squirrel suit situation.
Yeah.
Because it makes it seem like he's picking something up in Paris and then dropping it off. Now, he may indeed, if anyone can figure out interstellar travel
That's a good squirrel.
and like breaking the speed of light, it would be Tom Cruise
In a squirrel suit.
In a squirrel suit. So
15 hours across the Atlantic.
some would say this mission is impossible.
Didn't Phil Collins do that like during Live Aid where he played London, hopped on the Concorde, then played New York?
Yes, he did. Shout out to the Concorde.
Yes, he did that.
Yeah,
in a squirrel
something like that.
Collins.
Andrew,
In a squirrel suit, yes.
you mentioned Noah Lyles, and I think in these Olympics, there's probably nobody that has the more potential for just being a breakout star. He's already done the double in the World Championships, but it's nothing like the Olympics. What is going on with him? Is he just like a drama king and he wants to finish second in the semis, not really putting it all out there? Because I'm a little nervous for this 200. It's supposed to be his better race.
Yeah, he doesn't lose even heats in the 200, so the look on his face when he didn't win that heat, I was reading his face, and there wasn't like the big smile, big deal, I don't care. It was kind of stoic there. So I'm curious to see. I think he's still going to have that same Noah Lyles energy. I don't know if he's going to take a Pokemon card out of his suit like he did back at the U.S. trials. But this is it. I mean, this is the Wheaties box. This is everything if he can get the 200. Now, if he does it I guess whatever, big deal. He still got the gold in the 100, but this is his thing. I mean, he calls the 200 his wife and the 100 his mistress. City of light and city of love. He's bringing them all together. He got the one that people doubted him, right? Like he wasn't supposed to. I mean, he said he was going to get it, but people doubted him on the 100. No one doubts him on the 200. He is supposed to win the 200. But if he gets them both, then he's Carl Lewis. Carl Lewis in '84 in LA. And he has written his ticket for life if he gets this.
Andrew, you said this would make a breakout star, but we've known about Noah Lyles for a while now. Simone Biles we've known about for a while. Katie Ledecky we've known about for a while. Who is the breakout American star? Whose life is going to change? Not just like, oh yeah, you won a gold medal, but you're coming back home and now you're getting Wheaties boxes and commercials and all types of exposure.
That's a good question. I'm a fan of Gabby Thomas. She won the 200 and did so cruising to victory. I mean, we know Gabby Thomas, I guess, but that was a big stage for her to claim it. I love Gabby Thomas as well. I'm a huge Gabby Thomas fan. Steven Edorosik, maybe. The pommel horse closer, your Mariano Rivera of pommel horse, if you will, who came in and closed, and he's got the glasses and he's got the memes and everybody wants a picture with him. I think Alana Marr, women's rugby, which seems like a year ago already, but it was the first week, and the fact that they won in walk-off fashion like that. I mean, that was one of the first like shock the world moments, I think, for not only the Americans but for the games in general. I think she with that platform, Tom Brady. I mean, look at her social media. She already had a gazillion followers. She was already I don't know how many she had on TikTok, but she was a massive TikTok star. That has exploded. And I guarantee you she's making serious bank there. Everyone wants a picture with her. So I think those are the American names that have truly written their ticket, I think, when they get back home.
Gold Zone and Peacock have crushed it. 10 hours a day, every day, all week long.
Dad loves it.
You finally linked up with Scott Hansen. What was that experience like? What was the feedback of that experience?
The feedback was good. We had a good time. Maybe in retrospect, it would have been great to do it like on a Sunday, like we're together on Sunday. But there were so many golds to hand out over the weekend, like 48 golds in 49 hours. But making us the story, if you will, would have been silly. So we did it on Monday. We did 45 minutes thereabouts to an hour. To me, it kind of felt like that old Martin Short, like synchronized swimming bit from SNL, like I know you, but we're not the same person, obviously. It was fun. It was back and forth. Nobody was trying to step on the other one. Maybe we'll do it again. I didn't want to talk too much. He didn't want to talk too much. Like there was so much great stuff going on. We're trying to cram as much on the screen as we can, but yeah, it was cool.
It's like Pacino and De Niro in Heat sitting across each other.
Just like that. We appreciate.
Yeah, like they put up the Kobe and Shaq pictures. I'm like, come on, guys. It was. Hey, I liked that people liked it. How about that? If everyone at home liked it, then good times for everybody.
We appreciate all the work, and we appreciate you making so much time for us. By the way, stunning to see your hair look this resplendent at the end of this gauntlet that you've run. I mean, it looks so good.
Well,
so strong.
I did make the turn. When I made the turn, I'm like, there's a little, I didn't like that little spot I saw back there. So we might have to go fix that before we get on air. Can you fix that in post?
We'll edit
please?
It, even though it's live, and everyone's already seen it. Thank you. Good seeing you, Andrew.
See you guys.
Mike, you were singing in my ear. You're obsessed with Brandon Ayuk. You wanted to interrupt everything Siciliano was saying.
I had coffee with McCulley a half hour ago because I got heat on my mind. Not the Miami Heat. I have nothing there.
We have our news that we're breaking next, but apparently it's already broken on the internet.
No.
Yeah. According to @Le Batard Show on various social media channels, John Tesh will be debuting a new edition of Roundball Rock after the break.
The new edition.
The new edition. Yeah, remember during
edition.
lockdown, John Tesh made a promise to us that we could have the rights to Roundball Rock.
Yes.
Now, little did we know this would be a major deal for us because we never thought that NBC would get the rights back and Roundball Rock would be back in the big leagues. I know that Fox uses it for college basketball, but he promised us this, and he could have just walked away from the deal, pretended like it wasn't legally binding, but he's a man of his word.
There you go. Honor.
So we are debuting a new edition of Roundball Rock. The new edition.
The new, not a new, the new.
The new edition of Roundball Rock coming up after the break. Mike Ryan here, bringing you another throwback interview from the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz. Today's featured guest, none other than a man who's played all 21 seasons of his career with the Baltimore Orioles. It's Cal Ripken Jr.
First, Cal Ripken Jr., Obama or Hillary?
Maybe I got the wrong show.
So you're not going anywhere near it? You don't want any part of it?
No.
I've talked with you before about the sharing of opinions and athletes taking stances, and you've said that you have stances, but you don't feel the need to share them. That is because why? Is there nothing in it for you, Cal?
No, I think that there's a bigger responsibility to your platform. And just because you can catch, hit, and throw doesn't mean that you know everything about everything. And you got to be careful how you express it and how you use it. And I guess if you really wanted to influence people or you wanted to get involved in something, then you use it. But just to use it for no real reason, or if you're not comfortable using it in regard to politics, religion, whatever, I think that you should have the ability to keep it to yourself.
Are you opinionated in private? Really opinionated, like passionate, banging on tables, yelling at your friends about what you believe?
I like to debate things. I like to ask questions. I like to get to the bottom of things with a series of questions. And maybe I try to win a debate or two by, what was it called, the Socratic method, as opposed to yelling and screaming across the table to be heard.
Cal, is there an athlete right now that you wish would just shut up, that is outspoken, that does voice his opinions, that you wish he would stop? A guy like Kurt Schilling, let's say.
I heard you came into the show with Kurt. Kurt's a good-hearted guy. He is passionate about a lot of different subjects, and he's very comfortable expressing that. I don't begrudge anyone the platform, the opportunity. We live in a free country. You can actually speak and talk any way you want. And so that doesn't bother me so much. But again, you are accountable. You are responsible for what you say, what you do. And he's certainly comfortable in defending his position, so be it.
Go rapid fire with me here a little bit, though, Cal. Who's a guy in your sport, your time, that you looked at and you said, that guy worked harder than I did?
Mattingly.
Who's a guy more willful than you? A guy you looked at and said, that guy has more will than I do?
Kirk Gibson.
More impressive streak, you or Favre?
Favre. I didn't have people gunning at me. I had a few people coming at me at second base, but I could always see him coming. And there's a lot bigger, faster, stronger people coming after him.
I was going to say, at second base, there weren't a whole lot of 290-pounders coming at you other than Mo Vaughn.
Yeah, and he just wasn't fast enough to get there.
Who had better support at home than you did? Better support from a father that you looked at and said, that guy had a better teacher than I did?
No one.
Yeah, that's the end of it, right?
Yep.
Have you, how much from your father, and you learned a ton from your father, when raising your own children, Cal, do you look at and eliminate? Do you try and follow your father's model 1, 2, 3, or is there stuff out there that you're softer and more gentle because there's stuff that you don't want for your kids?
No, I think probably the second answer. There's a lot of things out there. My dad was old school in many ways. In many ways, my mom played the role as my dad in many cases because Dad was away. So I think I'm probably, as a father, I'm a combination of how my mom fathered me and also how my dad fathered me, if that makes any sense to you.
Sure.
So, yeah, I'm much more supportive. I'm much, more hands-on. I like spending as much time and like doing things with both my kids in ways that my dad didn't.
Do you feel bad that your mom doesn't get more of the credit? Because in the caveman world of sports, we go toward the father, and that your mom doesn't get an equal amount of the credit.
Well, I think anybody that really thinks about it, your mom plays a huge role in how you turn out. In my particular case, my mom, because of baseball, did play a role of the disciplinarian and the nurturer at the same time.
Real quick, last question before we let you go. We don't know if this is lore. There is legend around Julio Franco and his substantive gifts. I can't give you. You either know what I'm talking about or you don't. Do you know what I'm talking?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
All right,
and
good.
I'm glad I don't.
All right, yeah, and I am too. Frankly, we're gonna let you go on that note. Cal, thank you for being on with us.
Okay, you're quite welcome.
very exciting. This music makes me happy. I don't know how many of you are made happy by this music instantaneously. I am, at least in part, made happy because it's the only bit of music anybody's ever given us. He just handed it over. John Tesh has the rights to this music, and he says you can have it. And so he gave it to us. It was an amazing gift.
Terrible deal on his part.
Yeah, not a good negotiator. John Tesh is a favorite around here because of that.
And Entertainment Tonight.
Also. And John Tesh was supposed to be here, but he's busy making music at all times, rocking out at all times. And he did do us the courtesy of explaining to us, because I'm assuming now, Mike,
that bedrock.
You kept saying a version of Roundball Rock, but I'm left to assume that the bit of music we're about to play, given to us by John Tesh for a reveal to the nation, is going to be what NBC ends up using, correct? Like, it's been decided. It's no longer negotiations, talking back and forth. John Tesh has made new music for NBC.
I did not know that. We're debuting this? Whoa.
Yeah. I thought...
Wow, we are a big deal.
I thought that that's what we were doing now.
This is the official new Roundball Rock?
Yes. I believe that's what we're doing.
Wow, whatever he's going to set up right now?
I think
he's
so.
Here?
He's not here, but he has sent word, like at the Academy Awards when they're accepting their award, but they can't be there in person. So John Tesh has made us a video to include us in this process. It's very exciting. Let's throw it to that.
Hey guys, it's great to be with you again. I'm really excited about sharing this new piece that I put together, and I wanted you guys to have it first to see what you thought. It is we're calling it the shredded version of Roundball Rock. We went back into the studio and got me on Hammond organ and a guitar player named Andrew Sinowick, who's pretty incredible, and the rest of my band. And we put together I wrote an extra piece to put on the end of Roundball Rock, and then we did what's known as the shredded version. So get ready, because here's the first time anybody other than the people in the recording studio are hearing it. I do have one beef with you guys, and that is you recently interviewed an old friend of mine who was sort of turned on me, and his name is Triumph the Insult Dog.
And I see the clip, and you guys have Tesh on, and you're celebrating. Oh, yes, even though we're losing inside the NBA, at least we're getting Roundball Rock. Hooray. What a great deal. We're trading Charles Barkley for John Tesh. That's a fair trade. Maybe we can trade Kenny Smith for Yanni.
And I noticed that when he was going after me that you didn't defend me at all. It's cool, I understand, it's Hollywood stuff. But as we debut the shredded version of Roundball Rock, I just want to say to you, Triumph, because I know you're watching the show as well, to you, here is Roundball Rock, the shredded version, for you to poop on.
I thought you said John Tesh was not here.
This thing rips, Dano.
Oh my God, my eyebrows.
This is a heater.
Are smoking. My eyebrows are on fire.
By the way, I was like, Izzy, you must be very happy that there's a shredded version.
I was so close to taking my shirt off, but these guys are all you needed to look at.
Oh, you should have taken your shirt off. The Izzy version, the shredded version.
This is the biggest thing we've ever done on our show. This harkens back to a time. This is the greatest thing.
Is our guitar player like the third member of Simon and Garfunkel? What is this look here? Because it's not John Tesh.
No, it's John Tesh's brother. That's it.
Phil Tesh.
For the audio audience, in the back there, Tony and Lewis, they were losing their headsets while also weirdly starting to break
Capoeira.
Visually spoofing Saturday Night Live, which was spoofing the Dunk It.
Basketball, give me the balls.
I'm gonna dunk it.
That's amazing. I'm very happy. I imagine the audience that's nostalgic is going to love that. I don't know if everyone will be as enthusiastic as us nostalgic
Dude,
types.
I'm so grateful that John Tesh decided to debut this with us, but legitimate goosebump moment when that first guitar hit. And I realized that this wasn't a joke and we were actually going to over-deliver on something.
This might bring back hair bands. It's that good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
What
Thank
a
you,
diss
John
man.
Tesh.
Yes. What happened to hair bands? Are they gone? Are hair bands still out there?
Hair bands gone?
I saw Quiet Riot play at Dania Highlight like 3 months ago.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But
I
I mean,
didn't see him at Hard Rock.
It's been a minute.
What are you doing at Dania Highlight, Dad?
Nostalgia circuit, really.
Quiet Riot was there. That's why I went. I went because, but I mean, no hair bands are still doing it? Like,
No, they're
substantively?
Like new hair bands?
No, of course not. I would assume that there are not any
I
new-
imagine there are some that are trying to keep the art form alive, but no, it's nostalgia circuit now.
And are any of them doing it well, or it's all crappy, playing crappy venues, or somebody is out there, not that Metallica is a hair band, but Metallica could get out there and obviously fill
Chris
stadiums.
Jericho's trying to keep it alive with his band,
Sebastian
Fozzy.
Bach, is he still around?
Yeah, and
like
yeah,
that guy.
yeah, he's there's actually a video of him speaking at a conference trying to do Steely Dan poorly, but he's no Sebastian Bach. He was recently at Rockville.
There was no announcement that hair.
Why are we talking about hair bands? Let's talk about Roundball Rock, man. What are you doing?
There was an announcement. It was Nirvana with "Smells Like Teen Spirit." Dead, gone.
How did that make you feel? I mean, as somebody who's a nostalgic old person.
Oh, I mean, I got emotional. I do a good job of masking it, but like that song, that riff has something on me that I can't ever shake no matter where I am, because it reminds me of all those great Sunday afternoons. You turn on NBC and Marv Albert or Bob Costas has this whole monologue. And I pray NBC has a department of people who are just writing these monologues to open every single one of these big games, because that's the most important part, is you get this very uplifting kind of building music, and Marv Albert says something like,
Somebody's got to set the tone, right?
yeah, you got to say that the banner in the summit does not hang for Clyde Drexler. Like things like that. Like, Ernie Banks, Mr. Cobb, never went to the World Series. O.J. Simpson, the first man to run more than 2,000 yards, never played in the Super Bowl. And Michael Jordan has never played in the NBA Finals. That's a real NBA on NBC intro, ladies and gentlemen. Like, all of those things are burnt in my head. And at the end of it, you get a statement. Today, someone gets an answer. And the NBC Peacock thing goes in there. The music hits, and you get all that stuff, and guys complaining to Jake O'Donnell and stuff.
And then bam, Peter Vesey.
We can do this in real time. Why don't you give it the setup that you want, and we'll queue up the new shredded version of Roundball Rock right after you.
I'll do this. What I'll do. I'll write one for a fictitious game in the future where, can I do it? Where Anthony Edwards has just been traded to the Miami Heat, and he's playing against the Minnesota
Don't
Timberwolves.
overcomplicate this. Like, just like do it on the fly.
All right.
I got it
queued up and ready to go.
He says he's not a leaker. I get a text.
Not a leaker? Who said anything about leaking?
I get a text.
It's a hypothetical in the future.
Because I was going to set it up with the new shredded version. I was going to set up great news speculation, and you just stole it from me after accusing me of being a leaker because of something I shared with you during the break.
Is there news? I hadn't heard. I was just coming up with something wild and wacky.
What do you want to do?
I want to write this monologue.
All right. Well, that's going to take a minute.
Keep your eyes on the round ball, guys. Yeah. This was a big moment for us and our show. John Tesh gave us the exclusive. I think we're making a mistake and not just going right back to it personally.
Well, the way to go right back to it is as introduction to some speculation I believe people need to watch out for now that Amin has betrayed me and leaked information I was giving him during the break. But
you guys are screwing up this aggregated report so bad. The star of the show is John Tesh, okay? So like,
Thank you.
Like regurgitate whatever old intro that you loved. You don't have to write a new one or come up with one on the fly. But let's get back to this shredded version of Roundball Rock.
Pretty close to the original.
Yeah, but it's
shredded, Dan, the shredded version.
This one's not ours, just to be clear. I'm sorry, yours.
Right, that is correct. This one does not belong.
We actually owe them $20,000.
This now belongs to NBC. You may have
Turn
heard
that down, Ben.
They paid a lot of money for the rights to basketball. Music rights are expensive.
It's why Stugotz isn't here today. We couldn't afford his daily rate.
The music has gotten very expensive ever since we left ESPN. ESPN wasn't willing to pay for any music either.
No, that was a whole thing there. Our issues with rights predate independence.
Very exciting. I can't believe that Amin just did that to us. But you're writing, you're busy writing, you're going to spend the rest of the time writing an intro, because this was the time, I would say, this music harkens back to a time for you when you were first falling in love with basketball, as the idea that, wait a minute, I can make my living at this, and then eventually compare it to working in the salt mines. I can make my living working in basketball because I'm falling in love with everything the sport is. This is the musical background to that feeling?
This is the soundtrack to that feeling, absolutely. This is the song that plays. You know, it's very easy in this business, Dan, to get jaded. Jaded in the sense, not in the sense to call it a salt mine of a job, but jaded in the sense that, you know, people ask me, what's your favorite team? I don't have a favorite team. I'm like, what? How is that possible? I'm like, well, I just like basketball, but it's because I've consumed it as someone who knows how the sausage gets made for 25 years or so, almost going on 25 years. So a lot of that kind of that innocent love is gone. Like I see things happen. I'm like, yeah, of course it's happening because this guy is talking to this guy and this guy's got a problem with that guy, whatever. I don't get to have that fandom of just like, oh my God, what's my team gonna do, whatever. That feeling only resurfaces when I hear that song. I made my kid watch an NBA on NBC intro the other day. What was it? Because I was trying to explain. Oh, wow, this is gonna really spiral out of control. I was trying to explain the Alan Parsons Project serious song, right? Like this is
the famous Michael Jordan intro, the way that they would come into the arena and end the introductions with Michael Jordan.
And so I told my kid, I said, this song, literally, if you play it to people of a certain age, it only means one thing. It don't even mean Alan Parsons Project anymore. It just means, I'm North Carolina, I'm Michael Jordan, which, by the way, they reprised in Hard Knocks that I want to talk about later. So then I started talking about how music we had right now, these kids nowadays, I don't think there's a song or a music that has as great of an attachment to basketball as it did when we were coming up. Even here in Miami, for years, when I was working in Phoenix, if you heard Coming in the Air Tonight, Phil Collins, oh, that's Miami. So we would go to other arenas and they would play like, you guys can't play that. That's their song.
Yeah, and in pro basketball, they tend to switch those songs up. The Bulls have maintained this, but I think the only thing in American sports that actually has something that connects and then that is soaked in tradition that way is probably college football at this point.
Yeah, but I kind of feel like NBA teams need to go back to that. Stop trying to be, oh, what's the new song? Kendrick Not Like Us. Well, how many teams are going to have Not Like Us as their intro music next year?
Not the Raptors.
So through that conversation, I said, we used to watch before the NBA was on ESPN and ABC. It was on NBC. And she said, really? And I'm like, yeah. And this is how it would start every game. And I played this whole playlist of one. And this is before practice, where I'm taking my kid to practice. We're sitting in the car. We're watching YouTube videos of just all of these great monologues by Tom Hammond, by Bob Costas, by Marv Albert, where they are painting a picture. It's poetry. It really is poetry. As I'm trying to write this, I'm trying to mimic and imitate what they're doing. And it was this thing that got you ready. Oh, my God, this game isn't just a game. This is for all the marbles. It didn't matter if it was a February Sunday. Like, you felt stakes attached to every single one of these. And then at the end, they would just end it with a line like, one team figures it out today. And then you get that peacock outlined, and then the music hits. And all the endorphins. Oh.
I think Amin nailed it just with the word stakes. Nobody sets the stakes quite like NBC. For me, at least it was in basketball. For me, what made me fall in love with the NBA was, honestly, the replays of the finals in '84. But then a little older, when it was TNT, but it was because it was the late night game, right? I felt like I was doing something special because I was up late. And my mom's like, you better wake up early. And I'm like, don't worry, Mom, I'll get up. And so that was, but when we got to the weekend games, it was, hey, put mom away, put the children away. Like, it's just focus on the TV. It was a big deal. Like, I remember telling my mom, especially for a playoff game, and it was on NBC, I remember telling her, hey, listen, I'm going to get unreasonably upset today. I might even break, like, the recliner chair. Just leave me be for at least 20 minutes after the game. And all of that was set up by NBC. Nobody did it the way they did. And I think bringing that back, because they got Sundays, right? I mean, bringing that back on Sundays after Sunday Night Football is going to sort of reset that a little bit better than Turner did.
I'm telling you, there's nothing that used to, for you talking about teenage Amin, you want to drive me crazy? Like, let's do it. Just say this, NBC triple header. Oh, triple header? 12:30 until God knows when. We're doing game after game after game. And there was never a feeling like, this is too much, or I got to go, I got stuff to do. Like, nope, we're going to sit there and watch all 3 games.
One of my earliest hoops memories as a kid, I must have been 11, 12 years old, where listening to that Roundball Rock, NBA on NBC, Jail Blazers versus Lakers, like 2002-ish, where they would have those monologues about the Jail Blazers, and then all of a sudden it's Shaq and Kobe, and they had just won a title, and it's like, I remember sitting in this little, like, living room with a little square TV with a big back, and just sitting there like, oh my God, I can't believe this is the biggest thing on planet Earth, and it was like game 27.
They made Bonzi Wells look like the biggest jerk in the world.
Dude, look, they did great jobs of defining for us who the characters were, right? You didn't walk in and say, who is this guy, Nikola Jokic? No, we knew because they had painted him as either the hero or the villain. My favorite ones are always the Game 7 ones. There's one, the Knicks-Rockets Game 7 from '94 is insane because it goes through all the Game 7s in NBA Finals history, and they show you, like, they've got the cool music in the background, and they show you the winners spraying champagne, and then they show you, like, the losers. They say, like, Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars sitting on the bench in Game 7 in '87, in '88, and just looking dazed. And it's like, these are the stakes, man. Either going to be remembered as a hero or you're going to be, like, forgotten as a villain. And man, there's nothing like it. There really is nothing like it.
We're putting a lot of pressure on this song.
No, we're not.
Well, at least John,
what if they can't recreate what they did in the
past?
But
the biggest part of it was John Tesh delivering, and that he did. He definitely did. And when you talk about really fond memories of NBC, it's not just the games themselves, but it was the teases for what's coming next. Remember, the movie of the week was a big deal. Or in my instance, as someone that was a fan of science fiction at the time, stay tuned for another episode of Sequest.
I can't believe hearing you guys talk. It's making me think that everything you're just describing in the modern age can't be so again, because we're getting too much sports from everywhere to be falling in love musically with a triple header of regular season games, because we have that, we are consuming so much of this stuff that it can't be the wonder and discovery that you're talking about.
I think you're wrong, because we're living in a time right now, you can't appreciate nostalgia. 20 years from now, if Carrie Underwood isn't still doing the intro to Sunday Night, people are going to talk about Sunday Night Football on NBC the way that we're talking about the NBA on NBC right now. Oh, Carrie Underwood, all right, Sunday Night, and then the John Williams score, like all that stuff, it matters in the moment, and you don't really have a true appreciation for when someone's absolutely killing it and knocking it out of the park, the way that John Tesh did.
The thing that Izzy and Amin are talking about, though, is being in front of the television on a Saturday and a Sunday, as if you can't get that every night of the week now, depending on your streaming service.
They need something different. They need, I think, a villain. And I said his name as a joke before, but Peter Vesey was kind of thought of that. He was the reporter that everybody hated, even the players. And when you listened to him, you thought, like, if you liked a player, you had a defensive stance. You're like, wait a second, is that guy telling me what's true, or is he just telling me what he wants people to hear?
Well, I think you're in luck, because Skip Bayless is available.
No, but Peter Vesey's a basketball guy, right? Like he wasn't an outsider, an interloper coming
Skip
in.
Bayless is a basketball guy.
No, he's not. He just parachutes in, has a basketball take, and then parachutes out.
Stephen A. is going to be
Stephen A.
possibly.
would be a good one because he's a basketball guy. I can think of another basketball guy that everyone seems to hate for some reason. Maybe.
Oh, you're nominating yourself?
Maybe he's sitting in the studio.
Can
right
you
now.
parachute out? You can parachute in, but can you parachute
Tom
out?
Cruise will find a way.
Yeah, let us know the Olympics will come to LA, baby.
How are we able to keep secret that? We can't keep secret anything.
I mean, we kept secret from ourselves this John Tesh thing. I'm
We did a
proud
good
of
job,
us.
yeah.
This is a much more important thing than whatever Tom Cruise is trying to do.
Until we snitched like 10 minutes before the segment came on.
I get what we were doing there because the fact that we actually delivered on something, it was worth celebrating and getting audience in.
We
Hit it one more
delivered on
time.
something.
One more time.
Yes, delivered.
Can I borrow your air guitar?
This episode of the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz is presented by Smirnoff. We do game days. Please drink responsibly. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York.
After accusing me of being someone who leaks information before it's ready, Amin El-Hassan gave the audience something that I was not ready yet to report. It is not fully baked, so I will simply tell you on the front end of this as context. I have partial information on something that will be explosive if it happens, and I'm just going to set you up for something here that is speculative right now, but is something to keep an eye on because...
Hang on a second. Do I need to hold on to my seat? Is this like heat information? Because you got to prepare us.
Well, I mean, Amin just teased it.
I didn't. I was just throwing a hypothetical.
But it's half-baked, okay, because... It's not a fully formed thing. I'm just getting a handful of texts on something that is worth watching if you're interested in the transaction and speculation. And, of course, everybody's wondering, right? The Miami Heat have been left behind here, Stugotz.
Hi.
The Miami Heat have been left behind here, Amin, and that's a funny verbal crutch I have. It's just funny.
What are you going to do?
It sure is, Hawk.
They've been left behind by transactions, and I don't believe that Pat Riley is going to sit out at his age. I don't believe that he's going to just sit out and wait and watch. I mean, I'm assuming in New York, aren't Hart and DiVincenzo going to the bench now because Bridges is going to do what he does there? Like that, the Knicks are now substantively better than the Miami Heat, and the Sixers are substantively better. The Celtics are obviously substantively better. The Bucks are probably better, and I just don't believe that they're going to sit all of this out, and he's done a lot of striking out. So here's the information that I have for you to keep an eye on, and it's not coming from the Miami Heat because I haven't had time to do any of the reporting on this.
Seems a little premature then.
Well, that's your fault.
I just threw out a hypothetical.
I know, but you betrayed me, and you leaked it, and you put the audience in a position where they now want something.
The regular Greg Cody over there.
Yeah,
I feel like you leaked it. I could have you could have just let me say this hypothetical, and no one would have ever batted an eye. But the moment you leapt up onto that microphone and let it be known, everyone's like, wait a sec, this is real? I mean, wasn't just doing fever dreams now?
Well, but you betrayed me, though. I just told you moments earlier during the commercial break something that I thought you'd find interesting that was just for you.
Classic Stugotz.
I mean, what are you going to do?
I encourage all of you to listen to Pablo Torre Finds Out and the episode about what is happening with the mess at the top of power. You usually don't get this kind of access to where the money is. The money can shield some of these things from ever becoming public. But Amin can speak to some of the mess happening in Minnesota because there's an ownership fight there that is super interesting. And Glenn Taylor is the owner of the Timberwolves, and I don't think anyone considers him a good owner. Does anyone consider him a good owner? I mean, his reputation in the league is not quite Donald Sterling, but I think a lot of people think he kind of stinks.
Up until maybe the last couple of years with Anthony Edwards, the Timberwolves had the losingest winning percentage in all of major American professional sports. The NBA, MLB, NFL, NHL. That is their legacy. It's just awful. Oh, Kevin Garnett played there. Awful. Oh, and Anthony Edwards is there.
And that's just the results. On top of that, he is viewed as somebody who is a little bit crazy, and he sold the team to Alex Rodriguez, and Alex Rodriguez's consortium of people. And I encourage you to listen to Pablo Torre Finds Out because he did a deep dive on how messy and ugly all of that stuff is. There's an arbitration coming up in which we're going to find out who gets that team. Is it going to be Glenn Taylor or is it going to be A-Rod? And this is what you need to watch out for, okay? If Glenn Taylor keeps the team, what's going to happen after that is they're going to lose their team president, Tim Connolly. He's going to leave because he signed a long-term deal with the A-Rod team, and I think it's contingent, I believe, on A-Rod being the owner. Everybody thought A-Rod was going to be the owner of that team. And if Tim Connolly leaves, the next step on that is Anthony Edwards possibly wanting to leave with him and requesting a trade to Miami because of the relationship he has developed with A-Rod and just, loves it.
Do we get A-Rod too or no?
Loves it down here. Well, no, you would not get A-Rod down here.
You don't get Tim Connolly either.
No, you don't get Tim Connolly either. But of course, obviously, that would be something that would excite Miami fans. I haven't done enough of the subsequent reporting to even know when that arbitration is or when that possibly would happen. But Valentine's Day is something that's being floated as you should watch for all of that.
Wow, that is some information right there. You haven't even talked to the Miami Heat yet, and you've got a date. You've got Valentine's Day as a potential Ant-Man to Miami. This is humongous, Dan.
Well, it's just speculation so far. It's half-baked. It's not. I cannot report that with any sort. I can't report that as concrete. It has to be speculation.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you right now, it is terrible speculation because the trade deadline is February 7th. So that's a week before.
Okay, well, close enough. Around Valentine's Day.
Like Super Bowl day.
We're back.
Dan never knows when Valentine's Day is.
I've never been good at that. That's true. I've been recently taught the importance of Valentine's Day.
Not important by who? Hallmark?
No,
Preach.
Why would I've been? Yes, I went to a training course at Hallmark where they taught me the importance of Valentine's Day.
Not important at all. Not a real day.
All the days you can show your significant other love are important days.
Yes.
And if there's one that is important to him or her, you should probably pay attention to that.
No,
you don't strike me as much of a romantic.
No, you got to let them know, Dan. You got to let them know, hey, this, you can pick a day. It's not going to be the day that everybody else then chose because Hallmark told us.
Yeah.
Because American capitalism told us, this is the day you love your person. No. I love my person every day.
And if your person's birthday is anywhere near Valentine's Day, pick one. You're not getting both.
Exactly. Which one's more important to you?
What are your thoughts on everything that I just speculated?
That's a lot of dominoes. That is a lot, man. We could go down to Cayocho with that many dominoes, right? Like you're saying, okay, so first we have to have Glenn Taylor prevails in this arbitration, which
is it him prevailing? Because didn't he try to sell the team and now he wants it back? Is that a win for him? I don't know.
It's a win for him if he gets it back because then when he tries to sell the team again, he can get fair market value as opposed to the paltry number he agreed to when he first decided to do this sale. So that's part one. Part two is the idea that Tim Connolly says, I'm out of here. Now, there might be some legs to this because he signed an extension in June, 5-year, $40 million deal that includes an ownership stake with the team, presuming that Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lowry take over majority ownership from Glenn Taylor. So I don't know if that language means if they don't, then that contract becomes null and void or becomes renegotiable or whatever it is. But I could see Tim Connolly say, well, look, I went from owning a piece of an NBA team and a lot of money to just a lot of money. I don't need that. Especially where I'm at now, I've got like the highest kind of Q rating as far as execs.
Well, most leagues are strategic, and we usually wonder, especially in the NBA, we ask aloud, who benefits from this being out there? I think A-Rod, right? Because like now this league kind of frames it like, if I don't win, you may lose the player that brought you back.
Absolutely. Like if I don't win, everything goes back to the dark ages. Like back to the Stone Ages.
The problem that I have with getting too excited, despite my excitement a second ago, is the part where it's a trade demand to Miami. Like, does Anthony Edwards have that type of pull now? Will Minnesota give him what he wants? Will they trade him to Miami, which nobody wants to trade anybody to Miami these days. That part has me less than excited, but I like the idea that it's already leaked over to Minnesota, if that's the case, if they're nervous over there.
We're not at that domino yet, Izzy. We're still at the domino of, is Tim Connolly going to just quit, walk away from $40 million perhaps because he doesn't get an ownership stake in the team because Glenn Taylor
or he doesn't want to work for Glenn Taylor.
Maybe
I don't know enough about Glenn Taylor. I know what the results are and I know what his reputation is among other owners, but I'm not privy to any good information on what kind of chaos would be wrought if Glenn Taylor resumes as the bad owner of the Timberwolves.
Right, because there's a way to think about this. you say, hey, wait, Tim Connelly, that's a lot of money. Tim Connelly might say, look, I've been able to do my job as well as I have over the last few years because I had owners who could vouch for me and fight for my decisions or whatever. Having to deal with just Glenn Taylor might make my job harder and might tarnish my reputation. Right now, Tim Connelly is the guy, right, in terms of front office people of great reputation. Maybe he's like that. It never gets higher than this. So if I'm going to ever command a crazier salary, a crazier contract demand, I should probably walk out before this thing falls apart, right? So that's the next domino. So the next domino is Anthony Edwards says, look, I like my teammates. I like my coach. I like living in the city, and we've done a lot of great things. And I'm 23 years old, and even though I'm 23 years old, and most 23-year-olds think that all the success is because of me, I did it, and I can do this with anybody, he's going to have the foresight of saying, no, actually, the genius behind all this is Tim Connelly. And if he walks out, and Alex Rodriguez and Mark Laurie walk out, this whole thing falls apart. Even as great as I am, I can't save it from Glenn Taylor. That's a huge domino to assume. So then that domino falls, and then you say the next domino is I want out, and where I want to go is to Miami because I have a relationship with Eric Spoelstra through Team USA, because I have a relationship with Dwayne Wade through Tom Crean.
He's been down here a lot lately.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of guys come down here a lot.
A lot of people can connect those dots because of things that Anthony Edwards has said before and because of the relationships that you've highlighted.
Right. So then that's the next domino. And then the final domino is, okay, all of this is true. Glenn Taylor wins. Tim Connelly says, I'm out. Anthony Edwards says, I'm out too. By the way, I want to go to Miami. What Izzy just highlighted. The last domino is, okay, Damian Lillard wanted to come to Miami too. And we saw how it worked out. So it's a very, very long road, ladies and gentlemen.
We have until a week before Valentine's
Yes.
Day to keep an eye on it. All my report was keep an eye on all the dominoes. A dozen of them have to fall.
I mean, wasn't the Damian Lillard a case instance that you just highlighted something that was focused on by the NBA? And didn't they have meetings on this in which they stressed, because it seemed as though that was a real moment in time for the NBA where we're done being held hostage by these superstars. We're not going to honor the superstar that's been with one franchise and just made this one request. We're not going to do that. And there were a lot of people. I don't know if it was a Heat's involvement. That's my persecution complex as a Heat fan. But this was like the one instance where the superstar didn't really get it his way. So are the days gone where a superstar can just say, I just want to go to one place?
Well, a couple of things. One, I want to point out that Dan has his eyes on all the Domino's, all the Papa John's, all the Pizza Huts, and all the other chain restaurants that might be out there.
It's a pot shot.
Well,
it was a pot shot that would have been better made when he meant to make it where there were no windows before, and he circled back around and made the pizza joke now.
Crock pot shot. Number two, yes and no. Because I think there's some things going on with that particular situation. You had a GM, his first time as a GM. He's trying to kind of almost like the first day in the prison yard, trying to show I'm nobody's bitch, right? Like I'm going to fight for whatever, even if it comes at great cost to me. Now in the long term, because of what they got in the Drew Holiday deal, it looked a lot better. By the way, I don't know if you guys saw this, DeAndre Ayton.
I wanted to ask you about that. I wanted to ask you guys about that because DeAndre Ayton was the when you talk about Dame Lillard, Mike, the piece that was agreed on everywhere with Miami when Dame Lillard was going to come here, the piece that was already set up with Miami was DeAndre Ayton being traded. And the report in Portland is he's going to be traded now if he has any value, but there's no market for DeAndre Ayton. That's a pretty precipitous fall for somebody who was real close to the top of the sport with Devin Booker. Like the two of them were in a Game 7 playing very close to what felt like championship basketball.
Game 6.
And what happened there?
Okay, so I live in Phoenix, so I've seen the DeAndre Ayton experience the whole time, and I knew, everyone in Phoenix knew.
Real hoopers.
Yeah, real hoopers knew, but also real hoopers who were local, right? This wasn't a guy at this stage of his life, his career, who's going to help you win. He's talented. That's undeniable. He's got great physical abilities. He's got nice skill, but the motor is not there. Not at this point. I'm not going to give him a death sentence, but I'm at the point that he's been through his career.
But no value? He's got no trade value?
Dan, he went to Portland and had every opportunity on the worst team in the league pretty much to show out, to be as dominant as he wanted. He's the one that called himself Dominatin'. Right, that was his own nickname to himself. And
unless there's frost on the ground, unless there's ice on the ground.
Remember, he couldn't go to a game because he was surrounded by frost.
That and also he
landlocked in his own home.
He didn't have a bed until January, or something like that.
You could use the bed to slide over the frost and get to the facility.
Well, he didn't have a bed; he couldn't do that.
Well, then you do it like Chili Willy.
The point is, these are the things that we know about DeAndre Ayton from last season. Not of any dominating of any sort, but of these kind of stupid-ass stories. And it kind of highlights and underscores, like, a little bit of the immaturity and a little bit of the lack of a motor that he's kind of exhibited throughout his career. Is it too late for him? No, but at this point, what his number is, teams are like, I'm not going to take a flyer on this guy. I don't know how committed he is to this, right? So, but that was the thing that they waved their flag. That this is way better than anything we could have gotten from Miami. And, you know, like I said, up until the Drew Holiday part of that, I disagreed. But then once they got what they got for Drew Holiday, I was like, okay, that's a pretty good haul. But the fact remains, Dan, that or Mike, because you're the one that asked the question. I think
or
that was
Stugotz.
Or Stugotz, who's not here.
Yeah, but I think the NBA specifically kind of got involved or just revisited this.
They got
and asked
involved.
questions.
They got involved because of the public nature of the request, and it's not about send me here. It's they don't like. They've decided to crack down on players saying I want to get traded. They don't want that. They want that to be in-house.
That's not exactly what's happening here because there's caveats, but.
Sure, but if
it's in the same neighborhood.
If we get to the point,
by frost.
If we get to that point where Anthony Edwards wants to come to Miami and says to the team, I want to go to Miami, as long as he doesn't get in front of mics and or a podcast or whatever and says, yeah, I really want to play for Miami because I love playing with Bam Adebayo, or I love Eric Spoelstra, which is kind of what Damian Lillard said.
Yeah, Lillard was pretty sloppy on social media. Yeah. I mean, he made it clear, but he was also operating within the confines of rules that everyone else seemed to get away with, and they just decided not here, not now, not them.
I understand hitting him with not much of a motor. I understand questioning how much DeAndre Ayton cares. And I know that you are in Phoenix. You come from the Phoenix front office. But I don't want to undervalue how important a piece he was on a team that was like that. You corrected me, Game 7 to Game 6. They lost like by 40 points in a Game 7 at home, correct?
But even on that team, he was looked at as part of the problem. If he could just be a little tougher, if he could just go grab that extra rebound, and that's why they were considering, even when they were making the finals run, moving on from him afterwards.
He got a ton of money as if he was a player you can count on, and then all of a sudden we're like, nobody wants him?
So there's two things about that. Number one, Izzy's 1,000% correct. If he could just dunk it. How many times in that Denver series they lost last year, he would just do this little floater and everyone was going nuts. It's like, you're in front of the rim. Jokic isn't going to block you. Just dunk it. And I'll never forget this. They went to a timeout after he missed one of those bunnies. And during the timeout, he just stood under the basket practicing that same little bunny. Like, it never clicked in his head. No, I have to dominate like I'm trying to use that nickname. The question you're asking, Dan's like, but he got paid all that money. He was a restricted free agent. They told him to go try and get an offer sheet. He couldn't get an offer sheet. And then I guess Indiana was getting ready to offer an offer sheet. And then that's when the Suns said, fine, we'll give you. Or did they match? My memory doesn't serve, but I know he went into restricted free agency, and it was very late in the game that he got his.
He did get an
money.
offer, and they matched.
All right.
I think he was hoping that they would not match. He wanted out of Phoenix.
To Indiana,
to Indiana. So he got max money basically off of a dare, almost like, oh, I bet you won't. And then they're like, well, we can't let him walk completely because he does offer value. I'm not trying to say he's a bad player. He did contribute. But the money was based on, we think you can be this.
He's still young enough.
Right. He's young enough to change who he is.
He doesn't look young enough. Like he looks Greg Oden-ish, 40 years old.
Slightly younger cousin of Greg Oden, yes.
Minimal compensating.
He had agreed in principle to a 4-year deal with Indy, 4 for 133, and then the Suns had 48 hours to match where they matched.
There you go. So it's one of those things where you pay, a lot of times you get young players, especially young bigs, and you're paying them based on where you think they're going to get to, not what they're worth right now. It's not like Anthony Edwards, who gets his extension, and we all know right now he's already underpaid. For Ayton, it's like, okay, if he just gets his shit together, this dude could be a monster. But like part and parcel of that is you have to want to be a monster. You can't kind of be like the shy monster. This isn't a Sesame Street segment.
Are you and Izzy as fascinated as I am at in real time the way that the sport has changed, that Rudy Gobert played off the court, DeAndre Ayton has no value? Hey, the Celtics are champions, and they don't need anybody that size in order to be champions because all we've got is wings, and that's all we need.
Well, I mean, they got Porzingis, and that was sort of what they needed to break it. But the funny part about what you're saying is who's coming to change the league? It's Victor Wembanyama. It's him, and how do we take advantage of that size? How do we utilize that size? That's why I'm so excited to see Chris Paul with him, because with somebody of that size, you just need to simplify things. And Chris Paul knows basketball probably better than any point guard out there. But I just think if you are a big that can contribute to today's game, you can still do it. DeAndre Ayton just doesn't. If he were to grab 25 rebounds a game, you don't think they're going to find a place? They found a place for, what's the guy, former UConn guy, who Andre Drummond. I mean, that guy seemed to have fallen off, and he's not good enough for today's game. But here, he's playing. Why? Because he gets those tough rebounds, those offensive boards, and he dunks the ball on occasion.
And by the way, Dan, I think you're also highlighting a really big problem in basketball conversation where people say he has no value. He has no value at $130 million over 4 years. For minimum, for mid-level, for $10 million, for $15 million, absolutely DeAndre Ayton has value. He's a good basketball player. But if I'm paying him, and more importantly, I'm treating him like a number one overall pick max player, no, he doesn't have value for that. He has value if he walks in and says, I'm just a guy trying to make my way through this league. And that's a very big mindset shift for a guy who's, I think, still believes in himself as like, no, I'm a marquee player. I was drafted first overall.
Still in the devaluation of bigs, Nikola Jokic, 3-time MVP, and he's the best player in the league, basically.
No, look, hey, by the way, Jokic, if you look at who the Celtics beat on the way to the championship, I'm not putting an asterisk on it. I'm just saying, you're saying they don't need a big. Yeah, because they played Bam Adebayo, who's not an offensive juggernaut. He's more of a defensive guy. They played Jared Allen, who was hurt, and Evan Mobley, who's still kind of young. They played Miles Turner, who, again, is a good player, but not a juggernaut of a big. And in the finals, they played against Dallas, who Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford, those guys are role players catching lob bigs. They didn't play Embiid. They didn't play Jokic. They didn't play any of the or Giannis or any of the monsters inside that would say we need a big.
You guys are talking about different bigs, though, because you're right to correct me, Izzy, on Porzingis, but Porzingis is not playing the same style of basketball DeAndre Ayton and Andre Drummond are.
No, but he has options, right? If DeAndre Ayton would just be, say, a dominant defensive player, because we have Jokic out there, because we have Embiid out there, because we have all these quality bigs, you can create that level of value for yourself. Hassan Whiteside got a $100 million contract largely because of his defense, not because of his offense. And so it's just a matter of how DeAndre Ayton wants to affect the league. Will he just sort of continue with his game and say, the league's got to catch up to me, or will he adjust and play today's game?
Got to play with a fire and a hunger. You want to get every rebound, want to be the premier pick and roll lob threat in the league. Like, these are things that he absolutely can do. And then every once in a while, pick and pop, hit that mid-range, maybe out to a corner three. You do those things and defend, like, everyone's happy, but the problem is he floats in and out of focus of doing those roles versus just floating around on the court.
If I may, on behalf of all Miami Heat homers that have seen their team fail in pursuits of whales for several instances now, this is not a Miami Heat story. I think we muddied the waters. We threw up a Miami Heat graphic behind you and we invoked the Miami Heat. This isn't Anthony Edwards' general displeasure with the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is an ownership story. And now we're dragging the Heat into the headlines. And did you not see how that worked out the last time for them? We're not going to get this guy now because of you two.
Because of a mean. Thank you for. It was me and Stugotz that did this. It was not me. It was not just me. It was both of us.